Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome FICO Vice President Global Platform Practice, Mazen Moussa.
Hello, everybody. I'm really thrilled to be here with you at FICO World. This is my 10th FICO World, and I have to say, it just keeps getting better and better. For those who don't know me, you might want to keep it this way for your own benefit. Joking. My name is Mazen Moussa, and I lead our platform practice globally. What that means is that I get the privilege to travel the world and meet a lot of you from clients and partners and work with you on how we can solve complex business problems using the FICO platform. Earlier today, Nikhil painted a really powerful picture on how the FICO platform will power your intelligent enterprise. And Bill shared with you a great overview of all the things that are coming your way on the FICO platform. Well, what we're going to do in this session, we're going to deep dive deeper into these innovations and how they come together to transform the way that you create and deliver value to all of your customers and the businesses that you work with. So I promise you, we have a great 3-course Michelin star right before lunch for you today. And the first part of this presentation is going to focus on sharing with you some of the key market trends and how FICO has been keeping up with all these innovations that are happening and what we will introduce to the FICO platform. In the second part of this presentation, I will be joined by my colleague, Horia Tipi, who will join us from our product management organization to showcase all of these innovations, functionality, and improvements that we're introducing to the FICO platform. And we're saving the best for last, where I'm gonna invite, and I advise you to stick around, because we're gonna close out by inviting someone on stage who is pushing the limits using the FICO platform and delivering a great value for their customers using all the capabilities that we have and staying ahead of the curve. Are you guys ready? Let's do it. So Nikhil touched upon these trends that you see here on the slides, and I want to emphasize a couple of these trends. The first thing, as many of you know, over the past couple of decades, there's few things that changed. One is market trends, and two, customer expectations. We're well beyond the days of digital transformations and cloud adoptions. And your consumers not only expect convenience and on-demand and everything, but they expect a very personalized, intelligent, cross-channel experience that this is no longer optional for them, as Nikhil said. This is the baseline. But what's very different, that there's a new layer that is emerging that we're seeing. AI is no longer just in the hands of enterprises, but it's also in the hands of consumers. All of these generative AI tools and personal agents, your customers are engaging with intelligent systems in their day-to-day life. This is something that we have not seen before. That means their expectations evolving even faster, and the way that they're coming to your businesses and asking you for a new level of sophistication of how you engage with them and what they expect to you in return. This shift introduces a whole new paradigm and complexity for enterprises, because you're no longer just dealing with those consumers, you are actually dealing with them along with their AI agents and also the intelligent technology that they have in their hands. So what that means is that we are at an inflection point, and complexity here isn't really the enemy, it's actually the entry point for more and more innovation. So whether what we're seeing here is AI is reshaping with the way that we do decisions. We're seeing new models for marketplaces and rising customer expectations in terms of how they want their experience to be personalized. We're seeing a shift with composable agent technologies and frameworks and architectures appearing everywhere. Everything signaled to one thing: the time is to act now. You have a choice, but if you wait, you're not just falling behind, what you're really doing is that you're giving your competitors a head start. And they'll be soon enough looking at you like Leonardo DiCaprio looked at Tom Hanks in that movie and said, catch me if you can. Now, here's the good news. We saw this coming, and we consistently stayed ahead of those emerging trends, setting you up with all the tools and technologies that you would need to stay ahead of the market and be able to leapfrog it. While others have been focused on process automation, we have launched analytically powered solutions in the past like Falcon, Blaze, and also Triad. And as digital transformation started to emerge, we picked that up and we added capabilities with optimization, with collections, and with communications as well. And when cloud became critical, we delivered a cloud-native decision management suite that was setting the pace for agile, scalable decisioning. And now, with the rise of the AI era, we are giving you a composable ecosystem that is staying ahead of the curve and offering you what we call an API-first agent platform, powered also by a marketplace and built for the future of these autonomous eco-led innovation. And as the world has evolved, and so we are. And we are gonna be helping you to do the same. As I travel the world and I meet with, different financial institutions, insurance companies, telcos, partners, there is one thing that I see over and over and over, which is a siloed, disconnected customer experience. And sometimes I'm talking about, approving a line of credit for somebody that has been more than 90 days in collections. Sometimes it's about giving a marketing offer to somebody that has just been targeted by a scammer. When we as consumer interact with our providers, financial services, insurance, telcos, we don't think in terms of business units or systems. We're not a mortgage application on Monday, a collection on Tuesday, marketing lead on Friday. We are people with emotions, needs, and goals. So whether you're applying for a loan, handling a dispute, or responding to a marketing offer, we expand our enterprises that are serving us, the banks, to know us, to know our history, to understand our needs, what we need in that specific moment. And we expect to be treated as individuals in a very consistent, unified, and a connected experience across every interaction that we have with you. Because remember one thing, customers do not want to be treated like a number, except in one case, which is their loyalty point, and it better be a big number. And while in theory, we all agree we need to serve the human and not the account, the reality inside most organizations is extremely different. And those everyday customer interactions, they span across multiple systems, across multiple teams, across multiple disconnected decision points. And no matter where you go, big banks, small banks, big insurance companies, small insurance companies, any type of organization, they all operate in silos. And each team has its own goals, its own KPIs, its own data, its own logic, which ended up causing the friction. And that friction will end up costing you customer experience, customer satisfaction, and by a result, customer loyalty. So what we discovered by talking to clients, this is not a strategy problem. The majority of people understand that the strategy is to look at the customer holistically. But what we discovered, this is an architecture problem, a system problem, because the systems are not allowing for that intelligent, connected experience that customers expect us to deliver today. That is the disconnect. But we have found the answer for that. And this is where the FICO platform comes in. FICO platform will act as your applied intelligence layer the connecting tissue that will bring and link every part of your organization together. It sits between your data, your systems, your customer interactions, and making it possible to actually turn all the data into insights, and the insights into decisions, and the decisions into outcome, and all in real time. And what we also do is to close that loop back process to feed all the results to your strategies, to your models, so you continue to learn and improving them. And whether you're trying to orchestrate decisions across multiple product lines, or you're trying to bring in a more personalized customer experience in the moment, or continuously to learn what's working and what's not, the platform is going to enable you to exactly accomplish that in a seamless and a scalable way. And we're also taking it a step further. And with the FICO Marketplace, we are bringing to you a new layer of ecosystem-first innovation that you can scale by tapping into a growing digital hub of bringing more data and more assets, such as third-party data providers, predictive models, pre-built solutions, IP-created solutions, and an ever-expanding ecosystems of partners and solution providers that are going to partner with you through the FICO platform. So what we're truly doing is we're empowering you and unlocking the power of AI through that intelligent decision framework to fast-track the ability to discover, test, and instantly deploy all assets without leaving the FICO platform. It's in one place. So we created a trusted place for you and your partners to collaborate together in a safe environment to create a highly differentiated AI-powered experiences that nobody else can match. And Marketplace will give that to your teams and partners a space to collaborate together, to share, to reuse, without silos. You're no longer operating separately. And if you want to see it in action, please do not miss the breakout of our Marketplace session with our two partners, Cognizant and Teradata. And please make sure you pass by the demo center where you can see also a demo of that Marketplace. And now what you're seeing here is the ecosystem effect in action with the FICO platform at the center. This is what we're seeing. This is where the intelligence becomes real. This is where your data, analytics, system, channels, they all connect and come together, not just for making decisions, but you're really orchestrating intelligence across the entire enterprise. And that is how you are going to be enabled to deliver a standout customer experience that scale. And by now, you're asking yourself the million-dollar question. Well, Mazen, this is great, but how does this come to life? And to answer that question, I would like to invite my colleague, Horia Tipi, which is our VP of Product Management, to come here on stage and also help me walk you through the FICO platform innovations together. Horia? So, Horia, we've continued to build out our feature and profiling capabilities on the FICO platform. So, even more to create a more powerful vehicle for all these customers that we have here to drive more consistent and optimal business outcomes. So, do you mind expanding on that, please?
Mazen, I'd love to. So features are what allows you to take raw data, like a purchase, a deposit, or a login event, and turn them into meaningful decision signals and insights. Our platform achieves this by managing features as stateful, always-on data that updates in real time and that is aggregated against all other data up to that point. Whether it's a customer, an account, or a device, you define what matters, from transaction history and login frequency to balance trends and channel activity. These real-time profiles become the heartbeat of intelligent decisioning. They help the system understand and predict not just what is happening, but why it's happening and what is likely to happen next. So when a decision needs to be made, whether it's a fraud alert, a credit approval, or a marketing offer, It's made with full context, informed by the full picture. A complete profile of the in-the-moment context built from the latest data aggregated against historical patterns to detect and predict needs, intent, and response.
And when you do that at scale, you start driving, a more powerful picture where business outcomes are, great, where faster approval, lower losses, or, higher engagement drive more personalized customer experiences. So if you're already a Falcon user, or if you're already a fraud on the platform user, you've seen that firsthand on how powerful these features could be by helping you spotting and stopping fraud before it happens. So Horia, do you mind showing us how that would look like?
Absolutely, Mazen. So our next generation aggregation features ingest, store, and intelligently augments all the data you need for decisioning. This allows you to create dynamic profiles that are updated not just with the latest real-time data, but at the processing speeds and throughput that you need to feed your most mission-critical, ultra-low latency applications, such as credit and debit card fraud. This is just one of the ways we're opening up additional use cases on FICO platform, but more on that a little bit later.
And while I've got a lot of clients that care about speed and volume and scale, I'm actually more excited on how we're expanding this to bring it to additional use cases across the customer lifecycle.
Exactly. So we're bringing all of this augmented data into a foundational feature management layer that will percolate out across all of your use cases. It goes so much more beyond just fraud. This reusability and always-on persistence is going to transform the way your lines of business make decisions and enhance each other.
And while we see that your fraud team might be laser focused on transaction patterns, or deposits team might care about average balances, and your marketing team might not be using any of those features, there's so much going on in the that we could be missing because we're not utilizing that capability. So imagine what happens when you bring all of that together, and every swipe of a card, every transaction, every transfer, every login, every location, every device, every interaction across every channels, leads to actually mature the profile and add context. And what we've seen that the card fraud team might not really care about what, the deposit account transfers, until it helps them realize that Carrie, in this case, is a really hard-working mom who tends to do her financials, really late at night before sleeping. And those seemingly suspicious credit card transactions at 2 a.m., they're not really fraud. They are a sign of an exhausted parent that is trying to keep up with life. And by bringing those insights together and across all these previously siloed, disconnected decisions, you are getting the opportunity to detect and predict better customer behavior. And as we start to getting more data and Carrie's profiles start to mature, what we notice is maybe an uptick in her spending on, luxury stores, coupled with, at the same time, a leap in her average deposits in her account, and maybe IP logins as well, while she travels the world for business. And what this is really telling us that this is a perfect moment to actually send Carrie a marketing lead because she just got a promotion. And this is not just about capturing, the moments of your, top tier customers, but it's also about, in this case, looking at Sam, understanding that Sam has been, we're noticing an uptick in his card spend, and paired with a lot of balance transfers from his savings account and late loan payments. And what this really given us is not a sounding alarm for a card fraud or an opportunity to give him a credit line increase, but this is flagging a customer that is in financial distress, a customer that needs help. And this is where the power of those connected decisioning comes into bear, to actually given you the ability to understanding your customer and understanding how you should interact with him, and be able to provide proactive feedback rather than reacting way too late.
And we didn't stop there, Mazen. So with our next generation feature management on FICO platform, we're taking the concept of a feature with all the powerful reuse and decision insights, and we're using it to store, enhance, and add context to even more of the data flowing through FICO platform.
Well, that sounds great, Horia. Can you please walk us through that?
Well, for starters, this is so much more than the traditional feature store used by traditionally just your data science teams. Business users, I emphasize, business users are going to have all the tools they need right at their fingertips to create, track, and test the data across their decisioning ecosystem.
So just to hear that right, so what you're really saying, that we're really opening up a playground of innovation for business users, where they can do anything and everything without any IT or technical involvement.
That's right. So we're giving users even more flexibility for tracking the things they care about most. For example, with stored values, you will be able to see how customer attributes change over time. Not just their latest state, but how it's trending. Or let's take KPI features. This is a big one. With KPI features, we're actually letting business users define the calculations and metrics that matter to them. We're building on the tens and hundreds of thousands of customer attributes, customer characteristics, and other features available in the system. This is going to help them really understand the impact of decisions on business outcomes. As Bill said earlier this morning, imagine not having to worry about storing all this data, whether it's customer data or business data. FICO platform takes care of that.
So are you really saying, are we retroactively tracing those performances?
Indeed we are. So with our new decision store feature, you'll be able to see detailed insights into how past decisions were made, exactly what features and logic impacted those decisions, and that along with resulting KPI impacts.
I mean, this is huge for everyone, as you know, when you need to understand how a decision happened, you know, and how to defend it against any type of internal stakeholders or regulator. What inputs were used in that decision? You know, what the model was used? What triggered that decisions? And what are the past patterns that impacted that? So by using that type of a stateful feature approach, you've made a best-in-class explainability even easier to track.
And I'm sure you've heard this before, we're taking it even further. So as users experiment with new data, new features, and changes to their logic, they'll be able to run simulations directly on KPI features and against historical context. This instantly predicts how these changes will impact future decision outcomes.
Well, I know there's a lot of people in the audience that are going to be really excited about that, but this is going to enable rapid experimentation so the business can really move fast and, you know, do things with confidence when you need to make changes, so you're no longer making any guesses.
That's exactly right. So our platform's API first and agentic framework, combined with this paradigm shift in managing business KPIs as features, is setting the stage for decision agents, where your systems aren't just responding, they're actually reasoning, they're adapting, and they're improving continuously.
Well, Horia, that's massive. Like that only, you know, you can see the trends and shifts, you know, earlier, but you're basically feeding the entire ecosystem with the insights you need to basically course correct faster and even automatically in some cases, if I may say. So that's how you take the context, right, that we talked about and you turn it into action. And that's how you take the data and turn it into meaningful outcomes for you and for your customers.
Yeah, and these are just a few highlights. If you want to go deeper on this topic and learn more about some other new feature types we're bringing to market, actually check out my session with my colleague Brant. It's called Always On Feature Management, and it's at 2 p.m. later today.
All right, well, Horia, we just talked about how the next generation of feature management, you know, gives you more robust context intelligence to drive that customer 360 experience and unlock business insights about the strategies. So how do we actually turn these insights into actions? We talked about how the data goes into insights, but how does the insights goes into action?
This is such an important topic. I'm really glad we have a chance to talk about this. So you've heard us talk about composability before. Bill expanded on composability before. We're on a continuous journey to evolve our component-based architecture towards an API-first agentic and agile platform. I'm really excited about the progress we've made to enhance our composition capabilities on FICO platform. Remember the card fraud use cases that we mentioned before?
Absolutely do. Can you show us how that works?
So we haven't just brought fraud-inspired profiles to FICO platform. We've transformed our end-to-end orchestration engine so that you can build and execute extremely high-volume, near real-time, analytically powered use cases seamlessly.
So, okay, well, I'm not sure I'm really getting those details, Horia. Like, what does that do, or what does that mean?
Well, Mazen, candidly, I'm not sure I am either. So luckily, our friend and fraud expert Adam Davies will expand on this topic in great detail later on today.
I think you're giving Adam way too much credit. So go back.
Mazen, whether you start with one use case from transaction-based customer management that you see here, or to real-time event-based next best offers or actions, to risk-aware originations decisions, the modular nature of our platform is there to help. For both real-time transaction decisions as well as complex workflows that involve human review, you'll have the flexibility to assemble and orchestrate solutions that use modular building blocks that pull in data, models, and decisions from across your entire ecosystem. By the way, we've made the integration with FICO Marketplace seamless. So you can actually literally drag and drop marketplace assets from inside and outside your organization directly onto your composition canvas to compose new solutions in minutes. If you want to see more of this in action, you definitely don't want to miss the demo happy hour session later today.
I can't wait for that, Horia. Like, this is it's all about giving you more agility, faster time to market, and the ability to truly break down these organizational silos. So, you know, that often really slows your innovation.
Yeah, and the quick parting thought from me, don't forget, whenever you're authoring, creating, or editing a decision strategy, you will retain detailed visibility and transparency into how features are used, how decisions are made, and what actions are taken towards achieving your desired business outcomes.
Well, thank you, Horia. Let's give Horia a round of applause for showing us all the future FICO platform capabilities. So when you bring all this together, you know, always on feature, rich profiling, analytics, world-class decisioning, powerful tools like simulations and optimization, you're getting more than a platform. You're really getting a game changer. And it's not big flashy word. I have spent, you know, decades in the trenches with all of some of you and some of our partners. And what I've seen that really FICO doesn't just promise, we always deliver. But please don't take my word for it. And talk to each other this week. Go to the breakout sessions, go to the demo theater, but also most importantly, learn from your peers. And in fact, I've got one of them here that I'm gonna invite soon. So I'm thrilled to bring up a customer who's truly living the platform vision. Breaking silos, pushing limits, sharing data, driving smarter decisions across all of their line of businesses. Please join me in welcoming Mike Enriquez from BMO.
Let's go on, Mazen.
All right, Mike, welcome. So we heard quite a bit from Liz today in the keynote about all the incredible strides that BMO's making. And to kick things off, could you share just a bit about your role, how long you've been at BMO, and what drew you to the space?
Yeah, sure. So I've been in credit risk for most of my working career, over 20 years. Currently, I'm the Director in Credit Risk System Solutions, and my main focus is the operationalization of credit risk decisions, both in the originations and customer management space, and more recently, assisting fraud with application fraud implementation. I think I've always loved this role because I view it as an enabler of our customers' dreams and goals, making credit decisions within BMO risk tolerances while providing customers the credit products to allow them to fulfill their dreams. In BMO, we call it growing the good.
Oh, well, that's a great one. Growing the good. So I'm sure you guys are doing a great job of doing that for all of your Canadian and American customers. On another note, Liz earlier in her keynote talked about, the great partnership that is evolving with FICO and that has been running for over 2 decades. But BMO was one of the earliest customers that adopted the FICO platform. Initially started with origination and customer management, then it drove across multiple other use cases. Can you share initially what drove you to invest in the FICO platform, and how did that vision, evolve over time?
Yeah, I mean, I think really it was about the identification of opportunity to improve our existing credit risk decision capabilities. These opportunities can really be summarized, I would say, in 3 goals. The first one was to improve the quality of production deployments. What we were noticing was that the complexity of our strategies were increasing, and our ability to promote those error-free on a very consistent basis was decreasing. The FICO platform provided us not only the simulation capabilities, but also the decision metaphors, the building blocks of a decision flow, if you will, to implement those effectively and validate them before they went into production. Number 2 is something I call strategy fidelity, right? So when you get a credit risk strategy, there's a vision associated with that strategy. And if you don't have the correct tooling to implement that vision, what happens is your fidelity decreases. You might have 4 key requirements, you're only able to implement 2 of them. And the last is really about data augmentation. So as we persist, or as we sort of move forward in our various journeys, the real key is to be able to pull in data assets, real time, at critical points in your decision-making process. And having a platform that's able to reach out, collect those insights, and then execute upon them is key, I think, for modern strategy execution and decision-making.
I love it. So there are 3 things. So marketplace and, the third-party data, strategy fidelity, and the first one was?
Increasing the quality of your production deployment.
Thank you. Increasing the quality of the production deployment. So these are 3 key takeaways to take from how BMO were driving things successfully. So we do know that BMO is one of the oldest banks in Canada, goes back to 1917, if I'm not mistaken.
1817.
1817, sorry, thank you. Legacy systems are, a reality and, for any long established institutions. And can you talk to us about how you were able to, integrate, the FICO platform and then bridge the gap between, the legacy systems that you have? I'm assuming you didn't have to replace those at all, right?
Yeah, I mean, actually, one of your FICO colleagues, Robert, always says this: we had to rewire the house while keeping the lights on, right? As you mentioned, BMO's been around a long time, multiple technical innovations along that period. So when we onboarded the FICO platform, the FICO platform was in a ready state for your digital modern experiences. But we still had these legacy applications that weren't going anywhere immediately. So what we did to address the backward capability, if you will, is we built purpose-built adapters. And what these adapters are essentially responsible for are taking these legacy transactions, converting them to a form which the FICO platform can ingest. Those transactions now have access to all the modern decision capabilities. The responses are sent back to the adapter takes that response, changes it into a form that's compatible with the legacy system, and the end result being you get a decision based upon modern decisioning processes that's acceptable to these legacy systems.
So having legacy systems did not stopping you from adopting a modern decisioning platform, and I'm assuming, was it hard to build those adapters?
I wouldn't say it's hard. Like, usually your organization is going to have the necessary internal SMEs to build these types of adapters. There's a level of tedium involved in it, but it's not rocket science.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mike. And I think most of the people here in the audience would agree that, there's a tremendous value in having a single platform spanning multiple use cases, across the enterprise. And you've started, as we mentioned, in origination, customer management, then you went to fraud. But the reality in financial institutions, there's a lot of silos. So can you share with us, how did BMO overcome some of these silos, and what are the lessons learned that you can share with the audience here about how you were able to overcome, some of these challenges?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I wasn't aware of any of the previous presenters' content, but you can see themes. So Nikhil was constantly talking about contextualization. And to us, that's the key. So a very simple use case, say you've got a pre-approval strategy running or a credit limited decrease strategy running. And a part of your line management strategy is you want to process a CLD. Now, simultaneously, that same customer comes in and applies for a credit card acquisition, and we approve them. There's dissonance in that decision. Doesn't make sense that you're lowering your overall credit exposure for customer A while simultaneously increasing it, right? Now, that may seem simple, but if you don't have a platform that allows you to contextualize both of those decisions real time and exchange those insights, you're opening yourself for gaps in your adjudication process. Not only from a risk perspective, where our job is always to protect the bank, but also from an experience perspective.
Yeah, so no, this is great insight. So contextualization was a key driver and a key thing for you to kind of overcome these silos and bring in this together. So can you give us an example of some kind of problems you're solving with your customers, and the insights have you gained from having a single platform that goes across these multiple use cases? So what have changed for you from the day-to-day basis?
Yeah, I mean, it all comes, for me, the biggest change is contextualization. So this idea where you're finding insights from data that you normally wouldn't. So for example, in the fraud case, we control the resending of applications for originations fraud through the concept of critical change, right? An application has a number of attributes. We track these attributes on the platform and determine, has this application, as it's going through its iterative adjudication process, is it experiencing critical change? And if it does, we may want to evaluate it for fraud again. Yeah. Well, the number of times that critical change occurs on an application in itself can be indicative of other behavior, possibly nefarious. So there's an example where, from a day-to-day perspective, those types of insights are not always apparent and obvious, but they're there, and the platform allows you to derive that.
This is great, Mike. And we talked about how is it important to be able to derive features and aggregate features and be able to use those to be able to spot the behavior and be able to stop fraud or offer the right thing to your customer at the right time. Now, you talked about the marketplace, which is you said third-party data providers and ingesting them in real time was a game changer for you. So how do you see FICO Marketplace also with the expansion playing a role in accelerating those integrators? And what are some of the benefits that you have seen from adopting the marketplace and bringing in, I don't know, I think you mentioned in a previous conversation you had 8 or 10 data sources that you currently leverage using the platform.
Yeah, so possibly for a lot of people in the room, your classic integration experience is typically IT-led, right? But let's take something like the credit bureaus, for example. We integrate with the credit bureaus using platform. Now, credit bureau data is very esoteric, right? You've got your trade lines, your public record segments. There's a whole bunch of reporting segments that you can analyze and derive value from in different ways. By having the credit risk system team, along with the credit risk strategy partners, with our hands on the levers, so to speak, we have the right level of subject matter expertise to quickly derive information from these third-party providers, as opposed to attempting to articulate what you want done through a series of waterfall or even agile requirements to your IT teams. They go off, they code something in a silo, they come back, and you're like, well, this wasn't exactly what I wanted. So the ability for us to manage the integrations ourselves allows us to rapidly experiment in terms of researching and application of these third-party providers.
Great. So basically, that allowed you faster time to market. I'm assuming it did save you cost of not calling the bureaus, multiple times. So there's a lot of benefit of using those interfaces.
Faster to market, better insights, quicker development of derived or imputed features from the underlying data.
So Mike, what advice would you give the institutions that are here with us in the room that would like to replicate BMO's success? Like, especially that some of them, they understand the silos and they might be hesitant to adopt a single platform, that can solve multiple use cases across the enterprise.
Yeah, I mean, my own personal experience with the platform was when we first started using it, the initial focus was on migration, stability, and addressing what we would consider table stakes strategic changes. So Liz earlier talked about this idea of parameterized downturn-ready strategies. She was a champion of that from the start. Like going into it, this is what she wanted to do. At this point, really what we're focusing on now are digital-first methodologies and applications. Because if you think about digital experiences, they're supposed to be lightweight and frictionless, right? You log on, very limited information, and as the transaction flows through the pipeline, you're augmenting the data, right? It's unreasonable to expect these digital experiences to push all of the data features. So I would really recommend to colleagues in the room that if you're starting this journey, start considering what your data strategy is going to be. And how are you going to operationalize that 360 view? The data can really be summarized, I think, delineated into two general categories. You have what's called your online data, so these are sort of your existing APIs, third-party providers. You have your offline data. In our world, offline data is contained within traditional databases, maybe Hadoop clusters, and they actually contain a lot of the characteristics that we use in credit risk strategy. So trended variables, right? Averages, means, totals, things along these lines, slopes. So really what we've done is we're looking at how can we take these offline characteristics, operationalize them real time, seamlessly, and use them in a strategy.
That's great insight, Mike. Well, Mike, thank you so much for all the insight. BMO continues to be a really inspiring example of what's when, execution and vision meet together. And all the innovation and relentless work that you guys have put together is not helping you just keep pace, but it's actually rapidly evolving the market. So we can't wait to see what you're going to do next with the FICO platform. And thank you very much for all the insights that you shared.
Thank you, Mazen.
Thank you. So, look, I know everybody is hungry, and probably your stomach is making decisions faster than any AI technology we discussed today. So if you want to go deeper on any of these topics, please go to the breakout sessions, go to the demos. There's plenty of information for you this week. Book a consultations with the FICO experts. Again, thank you very much for sticking around with us for 45 minutes. Thank you for your time. Have a great lunch and enjoy FICO World. Thank you, guys.